Clean up in aisle 5. You're gonna need tear gas, pepper spray, and assault gear just to listen to this show.
Sasquatch, the moon landing, UFOs, 9/11, flat earth, JFK. All of these things have one thing in common: unanswered questions. So let's get to the bottom of that.
Now here's something completely random.
Animals in action, animals in action.
Random.
We using that in the intro?
Thank you and good night.
Dice Man Enterprises exclusively presents a talk show that will get to the bottom of things once and for all. And now here's your host for Let's Get to the Bottom of That, a bunch of weirdos on a mic.
Everybody's on their phone, but that's cool. Welcome into another episode of Let's Get to the Bottom of That. I'm your host, Bashi Kapakong Hanga.
Doesn't even work.
There we go.
I mean, it's not even working. Jeez. Amateur.
Welcome into another program today. So we've been dropping a lot of biblical stuff.
Yeah.
King James, we had a translator on. Today we're hitting Nephilim 4. Woo! Per request of one of our listeners, he's been clamoring for it, Lil Guapo. But we have Jason and Joey.
Shay. Ni hao.
Yeah, I'm here.
I
I made it.
Exactly.
Again.
Actually, the fan of the show, Lil Guapo, he has decided to join us because he has much more expertise than we do talking about Nephilim.
I think he is a Nephilim, actually.
Probably so. I mean, I'm just saying. But we'll get him on. Let's go right here.
What are we going to
What's up,
introduce him as
Guapo?
the
Hey, guys.
What's up? Welcome to the program.
director of constructive criticism? Is that his title around here?
Just number one fan. I love you
number one
guys.
fan.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Let's go with that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome to the show, Guapo. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
I
I'm
think
excited.
Jason was the one that mentioned that he reads.
What? Words are hard.
He listens to a lot of podcasts, and he's never seen anybody that actually gets fans of the show on the show.
Exactly.
No, that doesn't happen. No. I mean,
So I
especially
think
with like a conspiracy podcast, because usually we're crazy. So
Yeah, it's true.
it's a lot of trust getting me in here.
Sure,
so.
I took a chance. I took a chance on him, and look, it turned out to.
Byron's got the mute button handy just in case.
Just in case I do
Just
something
in case
crazy.
he goes
Yeah.
off the deep end.
So we've done 3 Nephilims on this show. I
Yes.
think the first Nephilim was kind of a generic overview of the Nephilim. I think the second one we got into, archaeology digs, bones. It's been a lot of talk. I think number 3 we delved into Goliath's brothers and why were they still here? And we kind of talked about recessive genes after the flood. That's why they were still here. So today we're going to go Nephilim 4, and Guapo's sent me some notes he's going to go over. Unless you guys got anything else to talk about.
First off, I want to say...
Oh, yeah, we've got... hold on. Let me get the camera over
We
here.
have a hat sent in by a listener from 94 Till.
Yes.
Thank you for the hat. If you can't read it, zoom in on it. I'll give you a second. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right, that's good.
We should probably Discord that because she has jumped in our Discord.
I'm about to send that picture.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you
that's
for
from
that.
94 Till, a.k.a. Alley Cat,
AKA.
Allie Sherman,
AKA.
Assicle.
That's cool.
Oh, it's in
Is
this-
that from Norseman?
I don't know.
It's from Norseman, the TV show.
Is it really?
I think so.
She's got a lot of aliases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for sending that hat in. Appreciate it.
Yes. It's lovely.
Okay.
It says Bigfoot is real. He tried to eat my... I wish I had a bleep, but that's all I had was an air horn.
Just an air horn? How
Trying
about a
to
fart?
keep it-
It works.
The
My
fart would have
arse?
been better.
Did you say my arse?
The fart.
Oh,
Booty. Just say booty.
Yeah, my
Bigfoot's
booty.
real. He tried to eat my...
My booty.
There you go.
Hey, how's my sound? Is it good?
I
Sounds
like
really-
it. Sounds
low on
legit.
mine.
Dude, I
Let's-
can't
let's-
wait till
let's go
I'm
over to-
behind that.
sound like a young Barry
I'm gonna
White.
get rid of that
Do I?
fart sound.
I'll delete it now.
Hey,
Don't get
listen,
rid of it. It's a classic.
It is a classic.
classic.
It's been there
Mike
forever.
Yes, and
Yeah,
Mike
Mike.
hated it, and then he got me on the bandwagon. He's like, "Man, it's just we gotta get rid of it." I go, "You know what? We do. Let's get rid of it."
You know
It's
what?
on,
Mike's not here.
It's right.
True.
Well, that's what Guapo said. He's like, after Mike left the show, when Joey did, it just went downhill.
It went down.
No, I didn't say that.
I'm
Come
just
on.
kidding.
I didn't say that.
I will say I couldn't tell Joey and Jason apart for a long time. I could not.
Well, I'm
Oh, you mean the
significantly dumber
vocally?
than Joey. So.
Yeah, vocal. Well, yeah, you guys sound the same in my little earbuds because I usually listen like when I'm at work. So
We
I
have
got
that
these
sexy
earbuds
low
in.
voice.
Our voice is not low, bro. You get that,
He
you
just
get
said-
that sexy high voice.
Our voice is
My wife tells me all the time, she's like,
Like-
I thought your voice would be lower when I first met you. I'm like, wow, thanks a
That's a
lot.
confidence
You're
boost.
like a
yeah.
sexy Justin Timberlake. How about that?
I'm like a sexy hee hee, you know. What I'm saying?
Well, let's. You guys got anything to declare?
Bankruptcy.
High five.
I doth declare.
Anything current in the news we need to go over before we jump into Nephilim?
No.
Zelensky and Trump just met the other day.
wow.
I know.
They
I
did
didn't
what?
know I was
Yeah.
going to talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I saw that.
Okay,
about
wait. Well,
the
let's
dress
ask
down
Guap.
he
Guap,
got?
what did you think about that interaction?
Oh, I didn't watch it. I just
Oh.
saw it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I have no input. I just know it happened. I knew it was bad. So
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a train wreck.
yeah.
Yeah.
Byron
Oh.
thinks it was.
Get out of my house.
Yeah. Byron thinks
Get
it
out
was
of
a
my house,
success.
bro. That's
Mm.
what I thought it was like.
Yeah, I got something to add. So
Go
I mean,
ahead.
this will air after the
After the translator.
translator. So I want to say that after speaking with a real expert
Right.
on Bible translations,
Okay.
it's infinitely deeper than what I said. You know, and I felt like
Absolutely.
I feel like I played a good devil's advocate on the King James, but there are people that specialize in scripture, and
And textual
after-
criticism.
in textual criticism. I mean, it's literally a science,
Yeah.
and it was eye opening, man. But I mean, listeners at this point would have heard this, so I just
Well, no, it's good that you're mentioning this now because now listeners are going, oh, Joey's right.
yeah.
yeah.
Joey is smart.
No, I'm not. And you know that's funny is because after you're in a room with a guy that you're like, okay, this guy,
You've been doing this for a long time.
he's smart. You're
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna shut my mouth and we'll just see what
Yeah,
he
that's
has
what-
to say.
Yeah, I went to Joey's like, you got any questions, Joey? He's like, no, dude, I'm just amazed that you're in the room with me.
There's people out
And-
here
Yeah.
that know all these things.
Yeah,
And
you're
I'm
in
over
good,
here
you're in good
like-
hands.
Chat GBT.
I'm like, help me, AI. Ah,
What does the Bible mean?
La Biblioteca.
Okay, don't forget this.
Lord Jesus.
This year, this week's question of the week. What is the name of the alien race that comes from the planet Nirabrui?
Anunnaki.
Wow.
Oh dang!
heck?
Boom.
man?
It's Nibiru. It's Nibiru.
Yeah, Nibiru.
Nibiru.
This guy, yeah, Guapo. He
I'm
should be the
well-versed.
fifth guy on the show.
Wait, is
Get
that
this guy on
right?
the show.
It is. Well,
We need a bigger studio.
I
Give
need
me, give me the options.
Zorgons,
Yep.
Wookiees,
Yep.
Elohim, or Anunnaki.
Zordon.
SD.
So everybody
Power
just go
Rangers.
vote what Lil Guapo just said, and you'll get the answer right.
Could be wrong. though.
No, it's Zordon.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it could be.
What's a Zordon?
All right. Do you want to jump off this? Of course, our main go-to text for this topic is Genesis 6, and is it 1 through 4? Genesis 6, 1 through 4, which talks about the sons of God leaving their inhabitants and coming down and lusting after human women and having sex with them and having babies, and that caused Nephilim to get on the planet. That's our jump off text right there. So if you had any questions about is this biblical or not, it's in Genesis 6, 1 through 4. You can read that. Guapo, did you want to just jump in and hit some of your notes here?
Yeah, I mean,
Or-
I just
And
have some.
tell us kind of your take. I've never heard your thoughts on the Nephilim and
Well, like the
good
whole thing, or
stuff.
like just sons of God?
Well-
What specifically?
well, yeah. I mean, just yeah. What do you got?
Well, like I heard, just in my experience, because this whole Nephilim thing has been like the last 5 years. I think it's been talked about, at least in my Christian circles, because I've always been a Christian, raised spirit-filled Christian, so.
Amen.
We didn't really talk about it until 5 years ago. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, giants, Nephilim, all this. I knew about David and Goliath forever, but I don't know why recently I feel like the Spirit's kind of unveiling that more in churches and around a lot of Christian circles. So I don't know what that has to do with everything going on. Maybe there's some kind of reason that God wants us to know that and be talking about it these days. But yeah, I mean, the sons of God specifically, that's something that's a bit more recent for me too, because that whole concept of like the heavenly court and all that, I didn't really know about until maybe 6 months ago. That's when I really started digging into it. So
have you ever read The Unseen Realm?
Yeah,
I have not. No, that's
where I ran across it.
Yeah,
that's like a Blurry Creatures book, isn't it? Or,
No,
yes,
that's
Michael Heiser.
Michael Heisner.
Michael Heiser, okay.
He was on Blurry Creatures.
Oh, was he?
Okay.
Was he
Yeah.
really?
I don't listen to Blurry Creatures though, so I
Dude, thank you,
thank
bro.
you.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
I'm getting tired of everyone.
Those are our
just-
freaking competitors, man.
everybody
cool.
everybody I talk to is like, I recommend this podcast. They're like, oh, you should just listen to Blurry Creatures. They do it way better. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, you know
no.
what? They ain't got the zip that we got.
Dude,
you know
They
what I'm
don't.
saying?
That's what
They don't have the
saying.
fart in the soundboard, you know?
No.
They don't, bro. I mean, come on,
The
come with
juice
it.
is loose.
The juice is loose,
Miracle
baby.
Whip.
The juice is loose, and that's kind of what I've been telling these guys. The Blurry Creatures, they're cool and all, and I don't want
No,
to
they're
throw any
not.
shit.
They're
I don't want
nerds.
to throw shade, and I want to put it. There's enough people out there, enough listeners for everyone to have a successful podcast. But here's what I want to say: we are better. And
Bottom line, you guys are
bottom
better,
line,
yeah.
we are better, and also we're funny. We're fun. We're light. We're just not.
They're
over
more
there-
serious, yeah.
Yeah, and they're. I don't want to say it. This is constructive criticism.
Go ahead and say it.
But they're boring.
Oh,
And
dang,
we're
you
not.
just put it out there.
Yeah, you
And we're
just
not.
out there.
Yeah.
I think we should have a dance off.
I think a lot of
See
people
who's
would
better.
disagree that they're boring.
Yeah, sure, because they
But
haven't
it depends
heard
the
us.
type of person you're. If you're like a person who just wants to absorb information, our podcast
You know-
probably ain't.
Right, but do you know what kind of people
No.
that just want to absorb information are? What do you call them?
Uh,
Boring.
Beta.
Oh.
Smart people.
Boring.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
I want to redact everything they just
Yeah,
said,
everything.
and we're not going to throw shade.
Yeah, sorry, Blurry Creatures. Please have us on your podcast.
Hey, yeah, come on our show. We'll come on your show.
yeah.
You're not boring.
No, I
I've
mean,
actually
we'll go
seen
to
their
your show.
Instagram stuff. It's pretty funny. Some guy was on Blue River in Kansas City. They're not from Kansas City, are they?
I don't think so.
But he was on the Blue River in Kansas City, and he was like looking at all these piles of poop, and he was like, he's talking about how Bigfoot took a dump here, and he's like, and then 5 feet away, he took another dump over here, and then he took another dump over here, and then he got in the river and he flew away or swam away. It was the weirdest video I've seen. Yeah, it was on
Wow.
Blurry
See,
Creatures.
they're trying to
Wow.
compete with our humor, and they're not going to be able to.
I
I'll
laugh.
tell you one thing. I
They
was
probably don't know anything about us at
No,
all.
no.
They're
They don't know
so-
you exist.
They're like freaking another ballpark.
No, they're not.
We're gonna get on a hashtag.
Okay,
though.
Anyway,
All I hear is talking
we're,
shit.
we're getting off topic.
Right.
here.
Anyway, the How did we?
You're like, no, they're
Why
not.
did we even get on that?
Jason just wanted to.
How did we even get on that? Anyway,
All right, Guapo,
I,
sorry,
I
man.
see you got some
No, all
topics to
good.
expand on, which is Gobekli Tepe.
Yeah.
Go into
Yeah, you
that
guys-
real quick.
Well, you guys talked about Gobekli Tepe a little bit, and a while ago you mentioned the Y Files, those YouTube guys,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I haven't heard of them until you guys mentioned them, and now I've
Oh, really?
watched a bunch of their stuff. No, I've never
Yeah.
heard of them,
Yeah. they're good.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so that I put that in my notes because I was like, Emerald Tablets, Gobekli Tepe, both those episodes. I did a little research on that too after watching the Y Files ones. Nimrod specifically, Noah's grandson, I believe he was, after the flood, kind of wanted to bring some of that like Nephilim knowledge and power into the world again. So I was wondering, did he use Gobekli Tepe? Did he use Emerald Tablets? Like how would he bring giants back, so to speak? Because I've heard other sources that say Nimrod was a giant himself that like was born after the flood by more angels coming down and procreating. Or I don't know. What do you guys know about that? You guys are smart ones. So
Shoot. I mean, Nimrod, I think Jacob talked about Nimrod. I think it was like number 3. So Nimrod was like, it's just basically a name that they used to not give him a name. But there's a lot of like, Michael Heiser made the tie in Unseen Realm of Nimrod possibly being Gilgamesh.
right. Yeah. Gilgamesh. Yeah.
Yeah. Which obviously.
And Nimrod was a name that didn't mean anything or something. Is that right? Because he didn't want to give ties to another.
I thought it meant like
religion.
adversary,
Yeah,
kind of like
something-
Yeah, that's
Satan,
right.
but
That's right.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to give ties to another religion, and so he called him Nimrod instead of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, and then
okay.
Gilgamesh and Nimrod. I mean, there's like massive ties. You read the book.
Yeah.
Massive ties to the Tower of Babel. In that book, in the Unseen Realm. Do you remember what he talked about in that?
Man, it was so deep,
bro.
Like I don't know what you're getting at, so you have to trigger my memory in just the right way.
Is Nimrod the one they referenced to was as the first warrior that was like unbeatable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like a great hunter, great adversary to God's people.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I've got some historical context about
the backdrop.
Guapo, say it. You said it perfectly.
Göbekli Tepe.
Thank you. I can't say it. I've
Göbekli
tried.
Down there
I
looking
practiced
at
in the
that
mirror and
river,
everything.
Göbekli Tepe.
Okay, so the time period and builders, Göbekli Tepe. Did I do it?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dates to the 10th millennium BCE, inhabited by roughly 9,500 to 8,000 BCE during the pre-pottery Neolithic. It was built by early Neolithic communities, likely organized hunter-gatherers before the full development of agriculture. The location, the site is southeastern Turkey, or Upper Mesopotamia, on a hilltop known as Potbelly Hill in Turkish. It consists of a artificial mound about 15 meters high and 8 hectares, is that hectares?
I would say that.
An area indicating a long-term human activity. Göbekli Tepe contains a massive T-shaped stone pillars arranged in circular enclosures, some of the oldest known megaliths in the world. Many pillars are carved with animals, foxes, boars, birds, etc., and abstract symbols providing insight into prehistoric art and beliefs. Archaeologists believed it served as a ritual or social function. It has been called the world's first temple due to lack of domestic remains in its earlier layers and the sacred iconography on its pillars. This suggests it was a gathering place for ceremonies or feasts before permanent village life fully took hold. The discovery of Göbekli Tepe revolutionized understanding of the Neolithic. It shows that large-scale cooperative projects were within the capability of pre-agricultural societies. This challenges the once-held idea that temples and complex society only emerged after the agricultural. Here, a spiritual or communal building may have come first, potentially spurring the development of farming. The site was first noted in 1963 survey, but its importance wasn't recognized until 1994 when an archaeologist, Klaus Schmidt, identified its potential. Excavations began in 1995 and have continued since. In 2018, Göbekli Tepe was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site for being one of the earliest examples of monumental architecture, with only an estimated 10% of the site excavated to date. So I've got more on that.
Have you seen, we talked about this on the show when we did it, the LIDARs that they've done. They can see so much more under this.
Yeah.
But they won't dig.
Didn't
they won't dig because the government said
right.
no. Yeah.
Didn't
They're
Jacob,
suppressing
Jacob
a lot
said
of
that
that,
they abandoned this digging or whatever?
They've stopped. But you can see that there's
For the next
definitely
generation.
structures down way lower
Yeah.
under the ground, the LIDARs. So what do we think? What do we think that's in ties with the Nephilim though?
Because
there's like a lot of stuff around there that like points to doesn't it line up with like some equinoxes and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I think there's and there's stuff there. I mean, it talks about the flood. It talks about possibly some prophecies on there of like Revelation level destruction, like asteroids crashing into Earth and stuff. I mean, this is just stuff that I found. I don't know if it's necessarily true. Again, everything that I look up, it's like take it with a grain of salt on this stuff because you're getting your information from the internet.
Yeah,
you don't know what's suppressed, what's real. So, my thought was like maybe Gilgamesh, Nimrod, built this place after the flood with his family members, and then maybe use some of that pre-flood knowledge to make it line up with like equinoxes and make it as a place to worship for false gods after the flood.
Ooh, I like
so
that.
This is just me putting stuff together.
Yeah. I like
I'm not saying it's right, but that's like, just a guy putting stuff together. So
hey, none of us, no one's right here.
It's a good.
We're all human. Oh, it's theory time.
I was
Is that
going to
theory
ask.
music?
I was like, theory music right now? Do you have a theory?
That was his theory.
No, that was a theory.
That is the theory.
missed
Yeah.
it.
I missed it, but I'm on the back end.
On the back end theory.
Post theory music.
I've got it. Well, I don't know if we can delve into this.
I've got a
the
theory.
notes are all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about George Soros in a minute.
So
here we go.
The alternative theories and conspiracies. Göbekli Tepe's sophistication is at such an early date has spurred claims that it was built by a previously unknown advanced civilization. Popular alternative authors suggest a lost civilization with advanced knowledge constructed the site or guided by its builders. However, no archaeological evidence supports the existence of an Atlantean or otherwise advanced culture behind Göbekli Tepe. Mainstream research attributes it to local Neolithic people. Ancient aliens. Here's one. It always goes back to aliens. The site
and ancient.
And if the Anunnaki came from Nibiru,
Naboo?
No, yeah, Naboo.
Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's a cute girl with the hair.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right,
okay.
Right.
This site,
droids.
This site frequently appears in the ancient astronaut hypotheses. Some fringe theories, seen on TV shows like Ancient Aliens, propose that extraterrestrials either built Göbekli Tepe or taught humans how to build it. Due to the complexity of its carvings and architecture, this is a popular conspiracy notion, but is not taken seriously by scientists, as the construction is well within human capabilities in the era when properly understood. There's a Garden of Eden connection. Early media speculation and some authors linked Göbekli Tepe. Man, I'm saying it.
You got it, dude.
To the biblical Garden of Eden. Its location in the Fertile Crescent and very ancient evidence of managed wildlife and possibly proto-agriculture inspired the ideas that it could be the site of Eden or influenced by the Eden story. This is largely seen as metaphorical. There is no direct evidence tying the site to any specific biblical narrative.
Well, it's right by Turkey, isn't it? It's in Turkey.
Mm-hmm, yep.
So it's probably right by Ararat there where the Ark landed.
Right. Batman.
And there's two more. There's this astronomical observatory claims. Few researchers have proposed that Göbekli Tepe had I can't say that word.
Astronomical.
Astronomical. Thank
Is
you.
that it? Okay.
Goodness. Alignments or purposes.
Astronomy.
One claim that in certain pillars aligned with the star Sirius as it rose in the sky, suggesting star
serious?
worship. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
Another theory interprets carvings as a record of a comet impact around 10,950.
That makes sense.
BCE. If true, these would make it the oldest known observatory. However, the excavators have largely rejected these interpretations. The arrangement of the pillars has been distributed over millennia, making it unreliable to draw exact alignments. And evidence for the comet hypothesis is not widely accepted. And then the last one is the mainstream perspective is archaeologist. I can't read.
You can do it.
You're me today.
Consider these alternative theories to be unsubstantiated. There is no scientific evidence of aliens or advanced lost society at Göbekli Tepe.
Right.
I did it again.
Yeah.
And interpretations like the Garden of Eden or precise star alignments remain speculative at best. The consensus is that Göbekli Tepe was built by human communities of the time with the tools and knowledge available of the Neolithic period, remarkable as that is.
So there isn't any connection with like equinoxes or anything like that. It's just speculative.
Not in the mainstream science.
Yeah, and look how we trust the mainstream.
Well, I mean, they're hiding Göbekli Tepe. They don't want you to go in there.
Yeah, they don't want
to find out that maybe it is on the equinoxes. So, I mean, just unpacking that a little bit. Here's something that I do anytime I'm researching. If they put aliens in with archaeology, I just replace that word Nephilim.
Yeah.
Oh, good one.
Because I mean, that's how I see it. So I think that maybe Sirius, that was the star that was pointed up to, right?
Yeah.
Is that what I heard? Okay. So there's some other tribe in Africa that they had advanced knowledge of that star system of Sirius. So they actually had like a cave painting, or maybe it was like a tablet or something of like the star and the planets orbiting it. And we didn't know even the planets orbiting that until like the 80s or something. And they had this tablet for years. Like this is the god that they worshipped was in that star of Sirius. And you can't see that with the naked eye. So yeah, I mean, I think Sirius comes up in a few other like ancient pyramid stuff, like ancient civilizations. So maybe there's some kind of connection with that with the Nephilim too. So something too that I read Enoch once, the book of Enoch once. I didn't like it. I'll say that.
What?
Like as literature, or you didn't like what it said?
It names a lot.
It's hard to explain. It names a lot of angels. It puts a lot of context to things, and there's not a lot of room for my faith to move. Here's how I this is what I put Enoch through. So when you start answering questions that the Bible brings up, sometimes you can get into some heresy and some blasphemy and just not good stuff. Some things you just got to trust God, let him fill in those gaps for you personally. And naming angels is just a little weird. And it talks about them being like stars too. And it kind of puts like physical things into this weird, like spiritual, heavenly context, which I mean, yeah, sure, maybe, but things with like Enoch flying around and like seeing where the winds are stored in heaven, and it's
I've
like
got an
snowing
easy
all
explanation of that though.
You do?
That's called ayahuasca.
What's that?
It's psychedelics.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
You're saying Enoch was high when he wrote?
Well, we're always talking about DMT on this show.
There's a lot of people who think like even Moses when he saw the burning bush, it was acacia that was burning.
I hate that.
Yeah, I know.
I hate that so much. Every time you bring it up,
saying, it's like
yeah, I don't like it.
I don't like it at all. Because what you're doing is you're putting biblical miracles into a scientific context. Like why?
You're also downplaying it.
You're downplaying it. You're bringing it down to earth. You don't need to do that. The burning bush, it was God talking to Moses. That's
absolutely. I believe that 100% that it was God talking to Moses. But
yeah,
that begs the question: can God speak through things like that? Can God
through
speak
acacia?
Through
God
created? Hold on. God created DMT, and if God made our bodies and he created these psychedelic compounds that we find out through whatever means, hey, that that mushroom killed Jim in like 5 seconds, and then this one made him see God. So, like if we find these things, God has designed our bodies, right? Can God work through that? We already know from biblical perspective that God works through dreams, God works through visions. How do you attain those visions?
Are you talking about acacia?
I'm
just specifically acacia.
Not necessarily.
Because
I've never heard of acacia.
Well, occasionally I have.
Okay. I heard it was isn't that like the acai berry?
It's like an African tree.
Oh,
it's like those trees that you see in like Africa.
It's a bush.
Those are like big. Yeah, they're kind of like bushes, but the bigger ones are like the ones in the plains. Yeah, at least to my knowledge.
Sorry to cut in. So, what do you think about the scripture where Aaron's sons got in trouble for burning strange incense? And then God opened up the earth and killed them.
Who are you talking to? You talking to Curtis?
You talking to
everybody?
The audience?
You're talking.
I'm talking to the ether.
Okay, yeah, y'all give a comment.
What is the strange incense?
They were given very specific,
DMT,
detailed. Yeah, right.
That was DMT. They're messing with psychedelics they shouldn't have been messing with.
They were given very specific, detailed instructions on how to burn and what to burn in the law, and they did not burn what they were supposed to burn. And so
would you say that doing that stuff is burning what you're not supposed to burn, since it speaks pretty clearly
You
in
mean
the
like
law?
acacia?
Yeah. That we're not supposed to practice divination. We're not supposed to
get into another consciousness.
I don't think you're supposed to. I think that's Nephilim knowledge that I think that
I think that's what they were trying to teach us.
Maybe.
Yeah, they're trying to teach
and it was completely against what God wanted.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they always wanted, their whole goal was to get rid of the image bearer.
Yeah.
Right.
And mess up the DNA.
I have a question. Where is Nibiru? Is it
the
in
planet?
the Star Area series?
You're still on Nibiru.
I think it might actually.
Well, we lost him.
Oh man, call us back, bro.
Call us back.
Anyway, the Nephilim.
Nephilim 4.
He got so excited he clicked.
No, it kicked me. It kicked me out when I moved my mouse. All right, I'm back in. Hold on. Nabiru.
Oh, I like that clicking on the mouse.
Yeah,
it's an old school typewriter.
Yeah, I got an old keyboard. Let's see here. Nibiru is a fictional planet and doomsday concept that has been used in books, movies, and video games.
Fictional. So my question of the week is bunk.
Yeah,
it's fictional.
I think
aren't they mostly?
Yeah. I think it's in serious.
Aren't we all
star system? The Zoroastrian religion. Where is it though?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Let's talk about the Matrix,
Jason. Huh?
Let's talk about the Matrix. We're really in a
and how it correlates to the real spiritual plight of man.
So wait, hold on. So Guapo says that the idea of psychedelics and all these things were introduced, or anything that got you into a place or realm higher consciousness without God was introduced by the Nephilim.
I think that's evil.
That's possible,
I think
yeah.
if you're getting to heavenly realms without the power of God specifically, that's evil. So
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
that's straight from the Nephilim. That's straight from darkness. Because
You're not
I
supposed
mean,
to be
that's
here.
no, yeah.
Well,
You're not
we're
supposed to.
given.
Who was that got mad because he brought him back from the dead and was talking to? Was it Samuel?
Yeah,
Samuel, yeah.
He's like,
No,
"What are you
Samuel.
doing, bro?"
The witch of
Was it?
Endor resurrected him.
He's
and
like, "What are you doing, bro? You supposed to be doing this?
Why
Why
did
are
you
you
wake
talking
me
to
from
me?"
my sleep? Yeah.
Saul had said anybody who practices witchcraft or anything like that would be immediately killed. And then Samuel came back and said, "Hey, by your own law, you're dead." And then I think he went and hid, and then Samuel's ghost was like, "Hey, they're over here, bro." And then and
Put up a flare.
Yeah, and then they got hung from the walls of whatever town.
Walls
that was.
of Gilgamesh.
That is a tough topic because it's like we have been given like in the Bible, because the Bible's obviously our
Bible.
the Bible,
Yeah,
clear instruction.
it's our source.
From Old Testament to New Testament, like they had to do it differently in the Old Testament. Obviously, they had to go into the tent meeting, burn incense.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was an illustration of what our prayers do now. Now that we're in our post
Yeah,
resurrection, new
Yeah.
covenant. And we have clear instruction of like how we're supposed to reach God, and taking those psychedelics. That is going against what is recommended, even though it was a little
even
bit more
though maybe
extreme.
God did make it.
I think that's speculation, though. Just like it's speculation to say that the burning acacia bush made Moses trip, and I think that's speculation, saying that we're not supposed to do that. I'm saying that God made everything, and these compounds work with our brains in a certain way. Maybe that God can work through that. I'm not saying that we should or shouldn't. I'm saying, can He work that way?
Yes, I think
God does, yeah. Because God is a God of order, and He will use natural order to do His will. I believe that. So
Exactly.
maybe
there's a
there
verse-
was.
What about this theory?
Well, there's a verse that says
Go.
all things are permissible, but not all things are
beneficial.
beneficial.
Yes.
from Paul, right? That's a Pauly boy.
The
That's a
Pauline
Pauly boy.
epistles.
And what he says is appalling.
It's appalling.
What about this theory? What if everything, because we live in the fallen world, what if it falls into that category? All this other stuff that we're, you know what I'm saying? God made it. How can it be bad? But what if it's because we're under a fallen world now and it acts different to the human body?
Oh, you're saying like DMT is like a chemical that came out
Like
after
maybe
the fall?
he did make it, and maybe it wasn't supposed to be for us. But then after the fall, it just everything's kind of just crushed and not good for human consumption.
Right. That's why I don't eat broccoli.
Right. That's why I don't drink beer anymore from Bud Light.
Mainly rice wine. So,
Really.
so now we're getting into the realm of, speculation of that.
Of
So-
what?
But like I like what you said, but
Oh.
Jason, that everything is permissible, but not everything's beneficial, and so there's an idea. Well, and you're talking about not even using compounds. I spoke about this a couple weeks ago about how there's something called holotropic breathing, where you can in a meditative state and
That was Kozarov Mirror.
yeah
episode.
you can get to
Kosovo.
that
That's a good episode.
just by breathing and so like
I'm
there-
high right now.
I can't hardly breathe.
he's been
now.
breathing all day, dude. I've seen it.
Yeah. I can tell you're high, bro.
But no, I'm not. So I'm not. Purporting that we should do these things, but I'm saying that in the psychedelic community, set and setting is very important. And so where if you are piercing the veil, you can see the other side, and if your set and setting isn't what do you call it intentional, you don't set your intentions for godly things, then it is dangerous. And so but I'm not saying that to be afraid of it. It's not something, God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He owns everything, and he can work through these things. And even I was listening to a missionary to Africa, and he went into this specific town who they were basically run by a shaman, and the shaman actually openly served Satan.
Okay.
And he was like, Satan had come to this guy to talk to the missionary and tell him, hey, this guy's dangerous. Talking about the missionary is dangerous. Don't mess with him, because he's got a power beyond yours.
Right. He's gonna throw you down, bro.
Exactly. And so that was like, we're like, whoa, all of us in the congregation hearing that's that's huge. But I think we've gotten off of Göbekli Tepe.
No, we're
no, this is all part of it.
We're not doing that one. Okay.
we're on Nephilim, bro.
I think there's ways to tie all this in. There's ways to tie all this in because
we'll bring it back.
Yeah, we'll bring it back.
So
we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about. I want to bring up the recessive genes and how does Nephilim, are they among us today in the modern world? Are they or are they not? Everybody, welcome back to the program. Thank you for sticking through the break. Of course, if you're a premium Spodcast, what?
Spotify and podcast merged and had a baby, and now it's called Spodcast.
Trademark.
I'm a
Spotify
Spod.
and
What if we had our own
podcast.
app called Spodcast?
I love it. Let's do it.
Start it up.
If you are a premium Spotify member,
Podcast.
you just heard us come back. But if you are not, you just heard an ad. So appreciate you sticking with us through the break. As we come back, we have a great person. Let me get him back in here. Lil Guapo.
hey, I'm back in. Yeah.
What's up, brother?
Guapo.
We appreciate you coming on the show with us. If you don't know who Guapo is, he is a longtime listener, fan of the show. He
Professional roaster.
professional roaster, professional critic of all things. But he wanted us to do another Nephilim episode, so we said, "Hey, why don't you bring the heat, bro?"
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing today. He's going through his notes. I wanted to quickly pivot to since Nephilim 3, we talked about the recessive gene and how it cropped back up, and that's how we got Goliath and his brothers. And you could clearly see that there were giants in the earth still. It's like, okay, what happened? There was a flood. We thought you wiped everybody out. There was only one family. You got off. All of a sudden, there's Goliath. Boom, Bob's your uncle. And then
Uncle's name's
David
Mark.
went on,
My uncle's name's Mark.
Yes, thank you. And then David went on a conquest and just was slaughtering giants across the land. But here's my theory.
Was that like literal or metaphorical?
No, he actually was. He was a giant.
Or was
killer.
it?
Yeah, it's in the Bible, bro.
It's literal. Come on. Don't mess with me like that.
It's up for debate.
Don't do that.
Yeah, I think I did so
Yeah,
well.
don't downplay it, Jason.
I did so well being the devil's advocate. I'm going to hit the other side. I'm going to say that they're not real, just to be a
Oh,
terrible.
okay.
That giants
I'm
are
just gonna be contrary.
Like
I'm
you
going-
think they're like dinosaurs?
I'm going no Nephilim.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
No
all
such
right.
thing.
So this is the guy that's like
So disappointed.
he's like. Okay. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, recessive
offspring.
gene. Here's my theory,
Spodcast.
and we can get back into notes if we want to.
No.
We can get back into those.
We're
if
off
we
the
want
rails.
to.
I got a theory about this too. I'll go after you.
I've got a
Go ahead.
theory that because Nephilim, of course, it was all from the fallen angels that they said, you know what, let's go down here.
So they
200,
say.
the Watchers
Right.
came down, had sex with women. They were trying to upset the DNA. They didn't want the Christ child to come on board. Okay, that's their whole plan. Let's get rid of the Christ child. So they were basically defectors from the kingdom of heaven, if you can think of that. And here's a good point too. Satan, Lucifer, the one that went from the first, was just sitting and watching this whole thing play out. He didn't even get involved. Isn't that weird? Right? He just sat back and said, "See how this plays out here." Boy." He just let it happen.
Says who?
Wait, you're saying Satan didn't mess with anybody?
He didn't. The Watchers, who are condemned right now in chains, in some kind of underground torment chamber, to this day, they're chained up.
Tartarus, yeah.
Satan didn't get involved. He just let it play out. That's crazy.
Who is Satan?
Well,
That's
has
what I was going to ask.
He has
yeah.
a throne in Turkey. If you read in Revelation,
What
Why
is
is
Satan?
Satan?
who,
How?
when,
When?
and
So you're
from
saying we shouldn't
what
eat
for?
turkey?
I'm saying we shouldn't eat Batman turkey.
Oh, okay.
So here, based on what I just said, I think the Nephilim and their offspring got a little.
Girls Gone Wild.
What's the word I want to say? Yes. Let me go. Wait, where's my?
What are you talking about?
Jeez. Why are you here?
It's actually pretty good.
Let's bring that all back.
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty
like
good.
that?
Nephilim,
That's good
they were girls going wild, definitely. My theory is
Mesopotamia.
my theory is they got smart because they kept getting snuffed out by the humans. Have you noticed this pattern? Because they just keep getting snuffed out. So I think recessive genes still happen, but they're not giants with us anymore.
I don't know.
They're just, and I go back to somebody like George Soros.
Giant of Kandahar.
Somebody, well, that's true. That's still there. But I think they got smarter and said, you know what? We keep getting snuffed out. We can't be around the humans because they think we're weird. They always try to kill us. Let's try to kill them from the inside out.
Yeah, let's infiltrate the human genome.
That's it. And then let's not make ourselves giants in it. So I always think of people like George Soros, Hitler, some of these people that get involved. Nancy Pelosi, George Foreman.
The grill guy?
Oh,
What's wrong with him?
He's taking all the fat out of me.
Oh, he's
bro.
taking the fat out of me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant O.J. Simpson. Anyway, that's kind of my theory is that there's
O.J.
still
Simpson's alive.
or the Nephilim did what you said. They're like, hey man, we're getting snuffed out, and they moved to the woods
and they're Bigfoot.
and they're Bigfoots.
I'm going.
All right.
I'm going repeat offenders. I think they come down multiple times.
Yeah.
Sneak in late night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Girls go.
All right, can I break this down for you guys? Let me break this
please.
down.
Hey,
Go
break
on,
it
bro.
All right.
Bring us back home.
Here's what I'm thinking. This is out of my research in the past few weeks.
Nice.
I think that Genesis 6, when the Watchers came down and mated with humans, right?
Yeah.
Those are the big crazy giants, okay? Now, I think after the flood, those were all killed, turned into demons, unclean spirits, right? Because they were part angel, part human. So they couldn't go into heaven, they couldn't go into hell. So they just wander and they're against God's people. So going back to who is Satan, Satan just means adversary. I think that different Satans are in the Bible.
Baby.
I think that there is one devil that will get thrown in the lake of fire at the end. Maybe he's their leader. Maybe he's Shemyaza from Enoch, whoever that is.
It's Baal.
Dragon. It's Baal. Zeus and Baal are the same guy. That's what I think. I think they're the big devil.
Is it Baal or Baal?
Baal.
I'm going Baal.
I like saying Baal.
It's
Balls.
Baal.
Hey, that is a great
Baal,
point because if you think about it, the Satan and Lucifer are not names; they're titles.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It was like a station.
He's never named. And you think about the snake that's in the Genesis story, Akash. Is that how it's pronounced in Hebrew?
Yeah.
Could be
Had sex with Eve.
No. Stop. That made me so mad in that episode. I was like, I've never gotten so close to shutting off the podcast.
What are y'all doing?
It came from left field for us as well.
Oh, bro, I'm just trying.
Where did that come from?
I'm trying to get people to feel something.
Well,
you know what I mean?
so he's referring to a book called The Unseen Realm by Michael Heiser. And he talks about a lot about what the ancient Hebrew mindset would have understood the Elohim to mean. And, so when you're talking about the stars falling, like that was the stars were part of the Elohim, which is the family of God. And there is Elohim, which is the leader of all that, which we would understand is Yahweh. But
then the council.
Yeah, there was like a council, and so some of them fell, and we don't understand. I go back to the Silmarillion where you read that, and by the time Middle Earth was set up, you already had a world in turmoil because of all the gods that had Melkor had come down and damaged everything, right? So, and I think some of that theology was kind of like worked in there by Tolkien to kind of mimic.
What happened in the
maybe
the
what
Genesis
happened
story?
Pre-humans kind of thing. And then
that makes sense.
When we were born into the world, there had already been this separation in heaven, and then the Watchers come down, and then
teach us how to
Wow, that's a lot to happen in just 5,000 years.
Teach us chemistry and how to build weapons.
Yeah, Well, just think we had the plane less than 200 years ago, and then now we got jets and
Still have planes.
Well, let's think about this.
Wait a minute. So
No, you wait a minute.
Guapo was trying to tell us.
Oh yeah.
He was
Go ahead,
was on
Guapo.
something.
Go ahead, Guapo.
Well,
Sorry.
okay.
Go ahead.
I'll wrap this up quick. So I'm thinking Watchers were pre-flood, sons of God coming down and mating with humans was post-flood. I think that's actually post Tower of Babel. So Tower of Babel is when God separated the peoples of earth and gave them their inheritance and their gods and the people to rule over them. I think that after that happened, that's when those sons of God that came down and ruled their section of earth, like the Prince of Persia and Daniel, that's when they started making babies with all the humans and having these Nephilim human hybrids. Maybe not as many giants, but definitely some, because we have evidence.
It was kind of toned down by then.
Yeah, I think it was definitely toned down. Because I mean, pre-flood giants, I'm imagining like Greek mythology titans, like huge, 40-foot tall, made of like lava and stone. Yeah,
like what is that?
Disgusting. Yeah, or like dinosaurs. Even I think dinosaurs were a Nephilim hybrid. Because I don't. What?
I like this theory because it actually would make sense why we would have so many different types of theories and stories of different Bigfoots. We have Bigfoot in North America. Yeti. We have
Giant of Kandahar.
All these different on the planet on different continents. I mean that would make sense in different cultures that were
telling the same story kind of
post Tower of Babel. I think the Tower of Babel was an equal level of catastrophic event like the flood, but more of a social.
Are you serious?
I no, 100%. I think it was more social. It was more social devastation than it was for like the physical and type of devastation with the flood. I really agree with you. Actually,
every language.
I've got a so my brain's trying to go timeline here. Pre-flood, we've got Genesis 6.
Adam
Watchers
Eve.
come down, have sex with women. They create these hybrids.
Yeah.
And then the flood happens, wipes everybody out except Noah. And then
his family,
Tower of Babel is after that?
Tower of Babel's after that, yeah.
I got my timeline.
So wait a minute, how would they be in the genetics? How would they be in the genetics after
recessive
Noah?
gene, that is one of his sons.
How would who be in the Nephilim?
How would the Nephilim be in the gene pool unless Noah was descended of the Nephilim?
I don't think they were in the gene pool. I don't think it was any of the wives either. Okay. I think it was after Tower of Babel, these sons of God came down. They made more babies.
Are you saying they made a second visit?
I think there's a second visit.
That's his theory. Okay.
Possibly.
Adam and Eve.
Let me expand it more. Even more today. I think that they're still doing it today.
Oh.
Okay. Wow. So it was like
repeat offender.
It was like Woodstock in 98.
Wow.
Right? It's like we had it in the 60s and then we had Woodstock in 98.
Well, okay, so why would they stop? Why would they stop?
Cheeks up, they're not stopping.
Why would they stop?
Yeah,
it's just more hidden.
So let me see. The original Watchers are locked up. Then you got a new set of people that defect and go, hey, let's try this again.
Now, let me ask you guys this question. Who taught them how to do that?
I mean, I think it was just they had the knowledge.
From who?
Themselves. It was just
inbred. Who was the first person?
God.
To come down.
I think the daddy watcher and the mommy watcher had a talk with the son.
Who was the first adversary to come down to Earth?
Lucifer.
And
we don't know that for sure.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
I'm listening.
He's going.
So you're saying the snake had sex with Eve?
Listen to me. You mother truckers, listen to me. Okay, let's follow the story of the Nephilim. Okay. What did they do? They came down and they gave people the knowledge of good and evil.
False.
They came down and gave knowledge.
You talking about the Watchers?
Knowledge.
No,
they gave knowledge. And what was Satan doing with Eve? Oh, I can give you the knowledge. It's directly tied together, bro.
See, I don't believe that was Satan.
The knowledge is his member. Is that what you're saying?
Wait, you don't think the snake was Satan?
No, I have no biblical reference that points to him that he was the.
That Michael
Heiser. I think it was. I would think it was a seraphim. So I think it was just some seraphim that was serving in the heavenly
Everybody
court.
always assumes it's him because
if it was seraphim and then it just.
Yeah, I think it was just one because here's how I think. I think Lucifer came down to Earth before Earth was fully created. I think it was when the Earth was formless and void.
That is a statement in the Bible. Yeah.
God's like, I'm gonna make Earth now. So Satan's already there with his 2/3 of the angels, or however many, a third of the angels, and I think that another seraphim in heaven in Eden was like, I'm going to tempt these guys. I'm going to get them,
Yeah, they don't know.
Cause the
nothing.
fault. Yeah, they don't know anything. I'm going
They
to give
don't
them
know
this
anything.
knowledge. Yeah.
All they know is life.
Mm-hmm.
But
Interesting.
to Joey's point,
Joey had a point.
The Michael Heiser book talks about the serpent also being able to be translated as sorcerer.
That's
So-
right. He does. He
So
does
if you
mention
think
that.
when I grew up, I grew up understanding that the Garden of Eden was the entire world,
oh,
and that it was
planet.
never spoken like that, but it was actually like when you read it, it makes more logical sense that it was a place, and they were supposed to expand the Garden of Eden and cover it and rule the world
to the whole planet.
essentially. Yeah.
So one place. Let's expand this. Okay.
Yeah, and so when they were kicked out of Eden, they had to be kicked out of to somewhere,
Which
right?
was a place that wasn't expanded yet.
Which was exactly so wasteland or
I'm
whatever,
following,
wild
yeah.
lands, right?
Turkey.
So,
Dystopian.
so maybe
Turkey.
maybe there were these powers and principalities already set up over and we
So they were coming under their rule.
yeah.
Okay.
And so-
I'll
and so-
track. Okay.
right.
I like
So-
this. I like this.
Yeah, so if you listen to the podcast Haunted Cosmos, they talked about that, and like they did fairies and stuff like that, and maybe fairies are some of the and that kind of lore around that are
The liberals.
Beta.
different type, but that they are the rulers of
Ganache.
those areas that God had set up initially, but they were corrupted. Like maybe you go into some woods and it feels great, it's like this peaceful place, and
Or
then
you go into the
some-
suicide forest and you feel dark.
Yeah, you feel dark.
All right,
So-
let me give you this too. So you got all
Okay.
these. All right, pre-flood, you got all these powers, principalities set up. Right, flood comes in, kills them all. Tower of Babel. All these other sons of God are like, okay, God says, here's your inheritance. These are the lands that you inherited from the other people who were in charge before, but they got wiped out. Maybe it could be something like that.
Yeah.
So
and
there
that's
was
why they're
already these
forced
places
to
set
spread.
up. Yeah. So like Adam and Eve go into a fallen world out of the Garden of Eden, and then they get sent into all these lands controlled, like you said, by these other powers and principalities. And then they were wiped out by the flood because it got so evil, they corrupted people.
Yeah.
So Tower of Babel, God divides the land amongst the people and says, all right, you're going to live under this power and principality. You're going to be under this principality, to all these different people.
So you think there were human beings other than Adam and Eve already on the planet?
No, I'm not saying that. Everybody came from Adam and Eve. That's what I believe.
Okay.
Well,
I've
we can
also heard
prove
that.
that genetically too with the
Yeah.
mitochondrial Eve. There's they can go back and track the mitochondrial DNA back to, and they said at one point there was a huge what do you call them, hourglass, like where there's a choke point of all human genetics, and then and it opens up after that and then it goes back down to a small
Bottleneck.
inception, bottleneck. So it came from somewhere, human population grew to a certain size, and then it was all bottlenecked down. And if you listen to the biblical narrative, that's inception of man on this planet, and then flood of Noah, and then now we have a much
Tower of
wider,
Babel.
yeah,
And they can do that with languages too.
yeah.
They
Yeah.
can trace every language back to a single point in history,
Yeah.
all from the same point in history.
I have to verify the fact
Yeah,
that you guys with this because this sounds wild.
I like. No, I
Fact
like
check
it though.
I mean, yeah, this is-
Mitochondrial Eve.
this
or
has put a different light on my understanding
Knowledge of good and evil, bro,
of
right there in the
of-
tree.
I never. That's a good point. You're talking about they came under these principalities, which, by the way, that would mean we are still under some type of rule today.
That's
Well,
what I'm
that's-
saying. Yeah.
That's
Because
the beauty of what Jesus did,
Mm.
right? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you up, Guapo.
no, you're good. Yeah.
What did he do?
Well, he so in that book again, Unseen Realm, he talks about how when Jesus was being tempted, right, that 40 days he goes into the wilderness, and Satan gives him like, hey, he shows him all the kingdoms of the world, and he says,
Yeah.
I will give you this, and he's
Just
like,
bow down.
he doesn't really have he can give it to him, and it means that he'll back off, but you have to give me your worship. And then Jesus is like throwing down the gauntlet, saying like, no, I'm going to
Yeah.
take this back in my way. And that's what we are here to do.
Yeah.
We're here to incept the kingdom in these places that are controlled by these other
These dark
principalities.
forces.
And so we are, our battle is not with flesh, but
blood.
Who can quote that scripture?
It's in Ephesians, right?
Yeah.
Or something.
Our fight is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, and against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places.
Boom.
That's Ephesians 6, verse 10. That was in my notes.
That's so good.
And that's why you shouldn't leave your spirit vessel empty when you're doing drugs. Anyway, continue on.
What are you
Tied it back to deity.
It all goes back to psychedelics, bro.
Wow.
You like that?
My gosh.
So what you're saying is
Have
they're
sex with a
waiting for
snake.
you.
Oh yeah.
When you're in that state.
Like ravenous wolves.
They're waiting for you, and they're like, man, he's gonna screw up at some point.
Mm-hmm. You leave that vessel, you're done.
You're okay.
Yeah.
All right. Where do we go from here? Well, I would say, I don't know if my theory means anything, but
It could be. There's some scripture to that too.
I was just thinking that some of these powerful men that always are, they've got the strings, the puppets.
Sure, yeah.
They've got the money, they got the resources, and they can make things happen in the world. I feel like some of that is just Nephilim.
Yeah,
well,
but as soon as I win the lottery, I'm going to be against them.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I'm
That's
going to have all the
right.
power and the
I'm
principalities.
going to revamp the studio.
I'm going to revamp it. We're going to reach. We're
I
gonna
don't-
have
Anyway,
Todd
that was
Price
my
on
theory.
here.
I don't
if you
think
wanna keep
any.
going-
Here's what
ahead.
I gotta say. I don't think any country or power or kingdom set up on this earth is of God. I think that they're all evil because they're
Thank
not
you.
of God.
Oh,
Even
wow.
do you,
We're all
Even the
fallen.
United States?
Wow.
I don't-
Even the United
there's
States,
scripture that says that
especially the
there's
United
no
States,
government set up
especially the United States.
without.
Especially.
without
God
God's
puts all leadership
express
in.
approval. Yeah, God
Right.
puts them in charge, just like God gave all those fallen angels their inheritance after Tower of Babel.
That's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah.
I think it's all because this is the devil's world, and God's coming to reclaim it.
Yes.
He's the prince of this world. That's why he had the authority to give Jesus all that as a temptation.
So he
Even
puts us
America.
like chess
And we're just
pieces.
here to maintain.
Well, no, we're
until
here.
until it comes.
We're here to get the world ready for Jesus to come back. Yeah.
and to grow as beings, to grow as spiritual beings.
Yeah.
To grow and to
Well-
become the people that we were supposed to be.
Yeah.
know?
Then that goes to, what was I thinking about?
I don't know. Taco
Yeah.
Bell.
So you mentioned
know-
a lot of DNA and like blood ties too, with, like
Bloodlines.
cults and stuff. I think we all have a little bit of Nephilim DNA in us.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I
like
think we
from
do.
the original.
Yeah,
First sin.
I think it's part
Well,
of
I
our
mean,
flesh.
why wouldn't it be? Yeah,
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah.
Not me.
Maybe it's because when Eve
You're
and
the
the snake
worst.
had sex in the
No,
garden.
no, I
That's
Now
what
you're
the-
getting it. Now you're getting it.
Now
Guapo.
get it.
There you go. You're on
That-
board. That's all it took.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I know.
But
I'm just.
I think-
I'm being stupid too.
well,
I don't
that
believe
corruption from the fall, I think, where was I going with this? So like Noah, there's this theory of Noah being pure of DNA, and that's why God chose him.
Yeah.
I think it was more a spiritual pureness than a DNA.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah,
physical.
he
He was a man
righteous
of
among-
God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
righteous among men.
everyone. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so what does that mean? Perfect in his generations, though.
Ooh, maybe his generations were also righteous among men.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe it is a DNA thing. I could be wrong too, but I mean, nowadays I think I got Nephilim blood in me. I mean, I'm
I
like
mean,
5'7". I'm
red-
not giant, but
Look at the red beard.
You look like a Viking, dude. I love it.
Do you ever braid that thing?
I'm getting close. I think I can.
Yeah.
you should, bro. It'd be awesome.
I braided mine one time and it looks just weird.
Yeah, I don't know
too
if it's long
small.
enough to braid yet, but
Yeah, it has to be like one of those ZZ Top beards to braid it
yeah.
like that.
yeah, I want to get some like beads in it and stuff too. That'd be cool. Like a
Like Prince Durin from Rings of Power.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't seen Rings of Power yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude.
Don't waste your time.
I don't want to
Hey, no,
ruin.
that's
Yeah, I
not
don't want to
bad.
ruin it.
It's
Yeah, don't waste your time,
it's
bro.
awesome.
I didn't even like the
It's
Hobbit.
horrible.
If they
It's
just didn't
awesome.
Stop
say
it, Byron.
if
It's
they,
horrible.
If they
How
took
about-
Lord of the
Everything's
Rings off
terrible.
of it, then it'd be good.
Yeah, when you ruin source material.
Hold
yeah,
on.
Why do you have
there
to
was
make
no
up
source
character?
material ruined. We'll
Yes,
talk
it
about
was.
this on
We're
down
gonna
the rabbit
make
hole.
up characters that wasn't even in Tolkien's work. We're just making them up.
Yeah, I thought
and
it was the Silmarillion.
And then we call Harfoot. Harfoot. Wait a minute.
Have
Are
you
those
guys read-
hobbits? Yes.
Even clear down to where the orcs originated from
and
was
let's make,
never nailed
let's
down
make
by
the
Tolkien.
orcs a family friendly,
win.
like the orcs.
Him and
the
I got
orcs-
into it about Captain America this last Wednesday, and he's like, the source material, let's change it.
Hold on.
He doesn't know.
There was a lot
he
of
watched
stuff.
a YouTube video one time.
Yeah, that's exactly the way it
He
is.
was on
He
board.
watches these YouTube videos and he thinks he knows it.
He's like those people that are Christian and watch
Right
YouTube
there, bro.
Where they listen to a podcast. They
Is
say,
that a
you know,
double
the camera
backflip?
wasn't on him.
Oh my
Did
lord!
the double bird.
Double bird.
The double
Off camera though. I like that you switched
I
the
know, I
camera first. He was
Very-
like, "Wait,
very classy.
Right there, bro.
Whoa, there he goes.
Wow, man.
Way to represent the kingdom of Christ on
Yeah,
there.
no
Look at
doubt,
that.
dude.
Appreciate.
Let's
that,
get to the
Byron.
bottom of that. Hey,
Hey.
Jesus was the first one to come up with a middle finger.
was that your
Why are you-
Nephilim coming out, Byron?"
We just
Yes.
lost.
Okay.
Guapo.
We
He's
just
gone.
lost squat.
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. But
He's
I
not
love
mad.
you guys, but
He's not
Listen.
mad, he's just disappointed.
well, so you guys, I mean, you're like the tip of the spear here, cutting through the darkness. You're getting into like this conspiracy stuff that a lot of people looking for answers are going to be looking up. That's how people find you. They look for answers. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to hear more about the Nephilim.
Yeah.
So I type in Nephilim on Spotify and I found you guys. I don't know how you're on the top,
Wow.
Nice.
but Nephilim
Yeah,
1,
I
as soon
have
as it
no
came
idea.
out, it was like 10 seconds after you guys dropped the episode 2. I was like the first one listening to it.
well,
And I mean, this is, you're getting people from all over. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys are in Kansas City. I'm in Michigan. Like I'm
Yeah.
not from the same place,
Cool.
different time zone. So you guys are really, yeah, you have viewers all over the world, right? You said like California and a big chunk in Texas, right?
Yeah,
So
that's our largest state.
Easter
you guys are
Islands,
representing
something
that.
like
Yeah,
so
that's
no
why I'm
flipping
being
off
critical
on
too.
camera, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come
Like
on, man.
the other episode when Byron opened
better.
it by saying 2 words that you're not really supposed to say online anymore. I was,
Oh my
you know what I'm talking about.
Hey,
Listen to that
you're-
episode.
You're supposed to be the
I-
old and wise one, bro.
I was
Hey,
I was not gonna say those words today.
let's stop shaming Byron because I have no problem with
So-
somebody flipping me off. It makes me so happy when a friend drives by, honks at me, and flips me off. It makes my entire day.
I'm a
Yeah,
I'm a bandwagon shamer. If someone's shaming
you really?
someone by me, I join in. I don't even,
No, it's
like,
so I'll say it's
shame
funny
me.
between friends, but like, I mean, you're putting this online. You're representing.
Listen,
the
you're
kingdom here.
you're not representing well, Byron.
yeah. That's
not
the
just
truth.
yeah.
I forgive you, Byron.
Well, we'll
I don't
probably
mean
hang
to
this
single
up
out
then.
Byron, but
We'll just hang it up.
Yeah, no, I don't
It's
care.
over.
And this will be a hot take. At the end of the day, for me personally,
Right.
like, I don't care what people think.
Mhm.
I do not care.
So you're gonna flip them off?
What are
too?
you
I
talking
will
about,
flip them
bro?
off on camera.
What are you talking about?
I don't care.
Guapo's just telling us we're representative in all 50 states and
I'm
168
saying,
countries.
For you guys might want to live under that. That's fine. I don't care.
Right.
I want to be. The
I want to be
Christian- know-
authentic.
No, I don't want to be the
Authentic.
Christian. I want to be the person that can honestly say that I do believe in Jesus Christ, and
Yes.
also I'm effed up in the head,
Yep.
and that's okay because you can be.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
both ideas can be at the same table.
It's grace and mercy.
Judas was sitting at the table, and so was John. John was his beloved. Judas was his betrayal. Both of those
Right.
ideas can be at the same table, same time.
yeah,
So
but Jesus had to get up eventually.
he did it,
Mm.
and you know what? And John, he stayed at the table, and he didn't know what was going to happen next. And that's the thing with me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We judge each other. This is going off thing. We judge each other,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not saying this for Guapo. You
No,
I'm
you're
not
good.
saying this towards you,
We
but
love you, Guapo.
I was just having this conversation with
I
Byron
do.
this
I don't know
past
about the other
Wednesday
guy.
I love you guys too.
about Christianity in its whole, especially in the United States, that we have gotten so critical of each other and so self-righteous that it's
Yeah.
just like, dude,
Yeah.
calm down. Like, you're just a sinner, just like me. You're in the muck and mire, just like
Yeah.
me. But I'm just a little bit deeper.
To that point, Matt Chandler from the
no.
Village Church has a really good point. He says that if you start judging your righteousness against somebody else's, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to judge our righteousness against the righteousness of Christ, which we fall short every time. So that is,
Yeah.
when we start looking at like, well, Byron flipped off Joey,
no.
but I didn't. I said the F word last week. And, it's like it's just come on, man.
Anyway,
we all
I
sinners
got
need
a
a grace.
topic because the reason I bring that is because Byron and I had a conversation. Was it live that we had this conversation, or was it
no,
prior?
it was before.
Yeah, 'cause
you
I
were
would-
looking
I
at your
can't-
feed.
Oh, dude, because I have on my TikTok account for the bottom of that podcast. I have so much Christian TikTok just like algorithms, and it's just like,
Oh yeah.
one dude was saying one thing that was crazy, like it doesn't even make sense.
Like we're the building.
Yeah,
You didn't
all
like
this.
that?
So I'm listening to all this crap and what doesn't what I don't. Okay, what gets me is that these people that say these pastors that say these wild things, right? Whatever, they
Yeah.
can say whatever they want. What kills me is people believe it, and I go to the comments and people are like, "Yeah, this is what it's right," and like, dude, like, no. Anyway, long story.
Everything's permissible. Not everything is beneficial.
Right. Anyway, my rant.
Paul again.
So
Paul
bring
in
it up.
Double
epistles.
Pauls. Let's
Yeah.
go, baby.
So back to Nephilim.
Yeah, back to the
we've got-
Nephilim.
we've
We've
got-
concluded that that's what we are.
There was a war in heaven. Stars fell. There was something. The earth was corrupted. Eden was protected. Adam and Eve were kicked out of Eden into these areas with other principalities and powers. Okay. And then fast forward however many hundreds of years, we had Noah. The world is so corrupted that Noah has to be saved and everybody else is wiped out. Okay. And then the Watchers come down, right? Or did that happen before Noah?
Before and after.
Before.
Guapos
That's
did.
what I was saying before and
Okay.
after. Watchers
So
before.
why would they stop? Okay.
Yeah, why would they quit?
But now Jesus gets tempted in the desert, throws down the gauntlet, says, "Hey, I'm taking this back my way, not by worshiping you." And then now God's work has begun.
Yeah.
It was always going, but like this is like God throwing down the gauntlet. And then
This is inevitable.
And then
even
we're
an
the
idea-
ambassadors for the kingdom going around spreading that Jesus is coming and this is his kingdom. And
Right. And those principalities would have been under the impression that, like, hey, okay, we've identified this guy as the one that God sent, so let's kill him. But God knew that, and he said, hey, I'm going to let them kill him, but that's going to save the rest of the world. And that's going to set up an entire kingdom, a spiritual kingdom that is prolific. It's not centralized, and they can take this world back.
Yeah.
Which is what we're in right now.
So boom, timeline
Yeah,
established.
that's it. And then basically, because of what sin did, the punishment was death. That was our wages. Jesus paid that.
Yes.
Paid it.
So we don't have to have death anymore. That's the whole thing. Eternal life.
Yeah.
So
Or
something
before
I
we
think
did.
about too, the way that they killed Jesus was using government authority, which I mean, Rome, the Pharisees, I say they're set up by the Nephilim. I think that because I think after Goliath and his family were killed, and I think the giants, like the big guys, were then they went into hiding, and then this kind of spiritual dark authority, Nephilim giant, whatever you want to call it, that bloodline still in charge, but not necessarily like 12 foot tall. So that's how they operate, is they use the law, they use the governments that they set up to
In the
execute.
shadows now.
And they're in the shadows, exactly.
So
So
it went from the physical to the spiritual, because
Right.
that's another theory too.
yeah,
Maybe they were physically here before flood, post flood it was all spiritual.
Yeah, and they're like,
And then-
obviously we can't be here physically.
So where did
'Cause they
the
take
things
us out
like-
every time.
Where do the things like Giant of Kandahar come into play in this?
That's
Nephilim
a
talk?
good one.
Well,
those are myths.
And the bone. That's
That's
not
what
a
I
myth,
th- I think
That's
about
an
when-
Giant of
eyewitness
Kandahar is
accounts,
real.
dude. That's
Yeah.
not a myth.
that's
That was
that's
a-
Tower Babel. God spreading the giants, or not the giants, but the sons of God out, people to worship the gods. So he spreads out all these cultures. I think that's when those sons of God started making more babies. That's how you get giants in
Of
like
Kandahar.
North America, and Giant of Kandahar. But Lovelock Cave. How did giants get over there? God sent them over there after Babel. That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that is. They have eyewitness accounts.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Of
So
The soldiers that were there.
Well, and the bones could have just been
I'll have
left
them on the
over
show.
from
I'll
the
get them on
flood
the show.
too.
Get them on
right?
the show.
The bones of the giants could have just been left over
Jason
from the
will fly
flood.
them in.
I got the bones in my backyard.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, some bones.
You sure it wasn't a triceratops bone?
I don't believe in dinosaurs.
I'm digging up bones.
Dude, I found so much of that when I was researching for this. They're like, all the bones are dinosaur bones. You're like, what's a dinosaur bone, dude?
It's a Nephilim bone.
It's a Nephilim.
so here's something about dinosaurs that's
How about
always
the
bothered me.
Smithsonian, though?
Why did God put dinosaurs in the Garden of Eden?
Well, because
Were they there in the beginning?
in the garden? I think they were too big.
Well, I think that the Nephilim made the dinosaurs and the flood wiped them
Oh,
out.
genetic hybrids. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that when
They were playing around with
God
genetics,
before God limited the lifespan of creatures to 120 years, or man to 120 years, we talk about there being a firmament,
Yeah.
as well as the waters of the deep,
Oxygen.
and that would have allowed you talk about lizards, they never stop growing until they die. And if you imagine a lizard growing, like let's say a Komodo dragon or something else that's not extinct now, or that wasn't extinct then, growing until, they're gigantic proportions. That's where you get these gigantic T-Rex and Stegosaurus.
Well,
and all
then
these
where are the
kinds of
small
things.
bones then?
Yeah.
Well, if they're growing up,
That's a good one.
surely some of them died before they got big enough to be a T-Rex, right? I don't think we have any. I mean, I'm not an archaeologist. I don't know.
Maybe those bones were too small to preserve properly.
Well,
Like
no,
the-
but we have tiny little shells and fossils on top of
Have you ever
mountains
been
and
to
stuff, though.
Dinosaur National Park?
Hold on.
I don't
like
think I
the
have.
late great Mike that we used to be on this podcast said, he goes, all I need for the dinosaur evidence is this Stegosaurus.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
You mean because how do they mate?
Because how do they mate?
Maybe they laid on their back
Well,
No, they
and the guy climbed up.
Maybe the
it's-
hornets.
I thought it
You
was
know what I'm
it's
saying?
kind of like how snakes do it, where they just kind of ooze and rub up
Yeah,
on each
yeah,
other.
yeah.
I think it's very simple.
Okay,
Yeah.
come on.
Stegosaurus, you got the back plates. You got back plates. They die.
Oh, they just kind of went together.
Yeah, they side saddle and just flop.
maybe that big spoon, little spoon. Is that what you're
Wait a
saying?
Yeah,
minute.
but opposite. They're
Okay.
facing each other.
Oh.
Simple, bro.
That's-
there we
okay,
go.
you're right,
Dinosaurs
yeah.
are real.
Yeah, what? Changed my mind.
Maybe the sex organs were the horns.
Maybe the fins were the sex organs.
Well,
Maybe the whole body. was
Have
a
you
sex
seen that
organ.
thing where, like, if you look at a skeleton of like a rhino or something, you can't tell that it's a rhino?
Yeah.
Maybe that's how like dinosaurs are, because we don't know
Yeah.
what the muscles and the flesh look like. So maybe the Stegosaurus, maybe that was all those bones, those protrusions were underneath the skin or something.
Could be.
Maybe they
Yeah,
weren't
I don't-
even like a.
We do need to do that episode.
What?
Dinosaurs.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I think so.
Dinosaurs.
I think there's enough source material we can make.
There's
something.
so much.
Go
Yeah.
off the source material.
There's-
the source material.
Yeah.
We gotta
Are
have
you
that-
anti-source material?
No, we got.
Okay.
I'm just saying that Tolkien didn't have as much source material as everybody thinks.
Okay.
There,
We're
there
gonna
was
have
a-
to talk.
There was a
offline.
lot. There was a lot of things that he did not actually
We're
flesh
gonna have
out.
to talk.
He was
offline.
too busy getting CS.
Dude, he
Lewis
was like
saved,
smoking
bro.
the pipe, dude.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that,
I'm
man?
digging up.
Everything's permissible.
gold. Everything's permissible.
I smoked a pipe
but
on the
it's
way
not
here.
acceptable.
Right.
I always wanted
Yeah.
a Gandalf pipe.
I have one in my truck right
Do
now.
you really?
I can go
What
get
are we
it.
smoking? DMT?
Okay.
Yeah, we leaving
On
our
the-
vessels empty.
Circle it back.
Here.
Wow.
I was driving through all kinds of principalities, smoking some DMT.
You know what
on
I'm
the way
saying?
here.
You're like, you can't touch me. I got Jesus, bro.
Hey,
You know what I'm
Do
saying?
we have to be afraid?
No, not
No.
at all. There's
Do we
no
have to
fear.
be careful?
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
it says
Yes.
be careful for nothing.
Be careful for nothing?
No.
That's what it says in the
I
Bible.
think
It
we
No,
have
hold
to be
on.
careful.
says be
Let-
anxious for nothing.
Let me read you a
Anxious.
verse. Let me read you a verse. Here.
Okay, here we
All
go.
This is
That's
right
what I'm talking
after.
about, dude. Right after scripture, bro.
Right after flesh and blood, you got
I
therefore
love it.
take up the whole armor of God, that
Take
you
it.
may be able to resist in the evil day, and having done all to stand, stand therefore, having your waist girded with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, having your feet fitted with the readiness of the gospel of peace, and above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you will be able to extinguish the fiery arrows of the evil one, and then take up the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God.
Yeah, my man
Boom.
Paul was cosplaying it over there.
He was. He's like, I really wanted to be a
three
Roman
calls today.
centurion.
It's an everyday thing. You got to take it.
Yeah,
take
you got to
up the
put on that
yeah.
armor every day, bro.
Yeah,
But
and
walking
it doesn't
around in
say.
fear is no way to live.
No, if you
No.
got that armor on, there's no fear.
Mm-mm.
I'm just walking through demons here.
I'm a child of God,
Bro.
man.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's a good point you brought up earlier about the Caiaphas. They had to use the Romans to kill him,
Yeah.
even though they had grounds to stone him and kill him.
No, I think it was because the Nephilim wanted to do it their way through the powers of
That's
principalities.
a good point, right?
Well, and they thought
Asking for a friend.
killing Jesus was going to stop God's movement and
Yeah.
reset it
Yeah,
to
see-
the beginning.
See, they were so carnal.
Yeah,
all they
Nephilim are
thought
like
about was-
all they think about is
Yeah.
war and killing each other, because that's the opposite of peace and love. I mean, God is fully opposite to what the Nephilim do. They're the
Here's
adversaries.
what's amazing to me. Everybody talks about, of course, God is merciful and His grace abounds,
Mhm.
but the way He was so harsh to the Israelites, the Jews. of especially Jesus. He was harsh, dude.
Well, he had to be.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, the judgment was just.
Well, it was the end of it, bro.
Yeah.
Well, they were getting into some bad stuff too, because they were.
I just look at that and go, wow.
Well,
He's
I mean,
setting up those people.
if you look at the Sadducees, bro, and it's back to Nephilim's, or not Nephilim, back to Guapo's point about the Nephilim being like rulers over the land.
Yeah.
The Sadducees were like the ones that were wrapped up in the levels of government, you know? And that's like, there's a podcast I watch where it's like Jesus did 3 years of ministry with the Pharisees. So he was going out there debating with the Pharisees, and the Pharisees were the people that were like cared deeply about the word. They just wanted to get it right. The Sadducees were the ones that
were master debaters too.
Master debaters.
They were sad, you see.
Sadducee. But the Sadducees, like whenever Jesus was going to Jerusalem and he knew that he was going up in front of the Sadducees, he was like, my time is coming. I'm going to die. It's coming now. Because they were so enveloped in the government that he knew that the moment that he went there, even though it was part of his ministry, that his life was coming to an end.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't think they really knew that he was that much of a threat until he went in front of that specific power. Because again, the powers of evil are not omniscient. They're not omnipotent. They don't know everything. They're not everywhere. They're not omnipresent. So, I mean, you really have to be.
They don't know the end.
Yeah, they don't know the end. So, because I think a lot of times we're tempted to think of the devil or evil forces to be as powerful as God when they're not. And, you know, when you're sitting at home and you're tempted to do something that you shouldn't do, it's not like the devil can see you. I think that's your own flesh. I think that's your own Nephilim DNA messing with you.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Because the devil's not everywhere. He's not, I mean, you can invite him in
He's
in Turkey.
Yeah, you could take some DMT and let the devil in, but he's not everywhere. I think that we're all fallen people. We're all evil, so.
It's true.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Let the devil in, but you're letting whatever spiritual forces that you've come under.
Right. Also
in this territory.
Also, the devil's in the details.
He is in the details.
I thought he was in Turkey.
But
anyway, down to
idle
Georgia.
hands always produce devil's works.
Oh, you just went there. That was a
I don't
trip.
even know if that's real, but I said it. That's going to do it for Nephilim 4. I hope we did something here.
I think we got to the bottom.
We
of it.
did?
We got it. We
Guapo,
I liked it.
It was fun.
Guapo,
That's my favorite episode.
Thank you so much
Ready for
for
Nephilim
coming
5.
on the show and just, you know,
Guapo.
letting the listeners know who you are,
I'm
why
glad
you're
I could
here,
be here, yeah.
and when you are.
Why?
And
When,
we,
why,
and we should
how.
do this again, man.
Yeah,
Guapo or another listener or whoever.
Yeah, whoever.
Yeah, anytime you
Yeah,
guys
just get
want
them
me,
on
I'm
here,
here. This is
Yeah,
my
tell
favorite
your friends
podcast,
about
so.
us, man.
I try, but you guys need to be listenable.
Do better.
We got to lock it in.
Don't flip off the camera.
Yeah.
Don't flip off the camera, and you got to look up when Pearl Harbor was, Byron. That was something that made a lot of people upset.
1968.
So basically,
December
you said
7th.
sucks.
That's when I was born.
It was Richard Nixon.
Yeah, and he's
Pearl
not
Harbor
a-
Day. That's when I was born.
We got this on lock, Guapo. Come on.
Yeah. I'll be entertained. I'll give you my listen no matter what. So
Yeah, thank you, sir.
yeah.
All right, appreciate it. We're going to wrap this show up. Thank you for coming on, man. Have a good one.
Yeah.
You.
All right.
See ya.
Later.
Bye.
Okay, that's going to do it. Appreciate Guapo coming on. That was amazing.
Yeah.
I think we nailed Nephilim 4, maybe.
Yeah.
I think we tackled a lot more than we have on the other 3.
We did a lot of theories today.
Well, I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a theory.
It is a theory podcast.
This was a very strong.
I'm adopting it, though. That timeline that we established.
I like that.
Boom.
See, I didn't know about the before and after. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Why would they stop?
Yeah,
Well.
unless it was spiritual, because that would make sense too. They're running portions of the world spiritually, because they can't. I mean, that's biblical. That's
It is
straight up.
really. Hey guys,
They
make
didn't
sure
go
you visit our website, bottomofthat.com. Also, we have a weekly show. We do publish 2 episodes a week. Monday we come out with these type of topics, and Friday we come out with a weekly update. Also, you can join us our live stream every Wednesday at 7:30.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Dude.
Yeah.
Every
Sucks.
Thursday. Every Thursday? I'm done.
Go home.
Every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Join us on the live stream. There will be a clickable link on the website this week. So if you want to join the show, you just click on it and come in. Oh, don't forget the hat.
The hat. Seriously, guys, I appreciate sending the hats from 94 Till. Again, thank you so much. P.O. Box 68, Peculiar, Missouri 64078. Send me a hat.
Good one. Appreciate it. And we'll wear it and shout you out. Hey, if you're listening on YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute, make sure you subscribe and leave a comment. This content will be served up to other people that want to hear it. If you did not like this episode, I appreciate you listening this long. And tune in next week. You might hear Jason say this.
I'm over the Christian agenda.
Wow.
Boom.